Welcome to Grammar 4B. In this booklet, we'll go over progressive form with the past tense. We'll review commas and their uses, and then we'll also go over prepositional phrases versus adverbs and look at some new sentence diagramming. So let's start with the progressive form with the past tense. We're going to start with the explanation at the front of the book. So let's just read through it together, and I'm going to annotate it a little bit for you. So, like I said, we're going over the progressive form. In this instance, we're going to look at the progressive form, which shows the action of the verb that was in progress. Hence, we're using the past tense of the progressive form. So to create that past tense progressive form, we're going to use the simple tenses of to be. In this instance, we're using the past tense of to be. And for that, we want to make sure that we're always agreeing with the subject provided. In this instance, we're going to be using the words was or were, depending on the subject. And then for the main verb, we just add ing to the end of it. So let's look at an example. Here we have the sentence, I drank water. Drink is the past tense of to drink. Now let's put it in progressive form and past tense. So we have I drank water. This turns into I was drinking water. I is our subject, therefore was is our appropriate helping verb of to be. Drinking has the ing added to the end of the main verb. Now we'll look at a plural subject. We have we were drinking water. We being our subject makes were the appropriate helping verb because that's the past tense of to be for a plural subject. And once again, we just add ing to the end of the main verb, and we have our progressive form with the past tense. Pretty straightforward, and just remember, we always have a reference sheet either at the front or the back of the book, depending on the book, with all of the conjugations to the progressive form. So be sure to use that if you're unsure of the spelling of the main verb. Now we're going to review commas a little bit. You've learned a lot of commas and you've learned a lot of uses for commas throughout Grammar 1, 2, and 3, and we just want to review those uses in this book because it's a lot of details. We want to make sure that you feel really solid, especially when you're writing in school. So here we have 3 sentences. First, I will make a list. Ella likes blue, pink, and green. John sweeps while Eric vacuums. So each of these is not fully punctuated. So let's look at this first one. First, I will make a list. First, in this sentence, you notice that there's a little pause before you continue with that sentence. First is an introductory word in this sentence. So we need a comma to separate it out from the core of the sentence. First, I will make a list. Next, we have Ella likes blue, pink, and green. Notice that we have words in a list. So we need to make sure that we are putting commas between each of the listed words. So a comma between blue and pink. And then also we always need that comma that comes before the conjunction in this list. So blue, comma, pink, comma, and green. Our last sentence, John sweeps and Eric vacuums. We have 2 separate sentences, 2 separate clauses that have been put together into one sentence. So we need to make sure that we are punctuating that correctly by using a comma before the conjunction. In this booklet and in the rest of Grammar 4, we're going to be using various other conjunctions that you may not have seen in school and you may not have seen in the booklets that we have had so far in the grammar series. So make sure you look at these and keep them in your mind while you're looking for appropriate punctuation with commas. Those new conjunctions are going to be for, nor, or, that one you've learned before, for, nor, yet, and so. So in all, the conjunctions that will be used in this booklet will spell out fanboys as an acronym. So just make sure you're watching out for that stuff. Now we're going to move on to prepositional phrases versus adverbs. Now, remember that a prepositional phrase is a phrase that starts with a preposition and ends with an object. In this instance, it's going to be an object of the preposition. So really, a prepositional phrase just gives you extra information in a sentence, whereas an adverb is a single word that describes a verb and answers how, when, where, and other questions about the action of that sentence. So let's look at some examples again. Here we have the sentence, Aaron hid below under the porch. So we have a couple of different words that could be an adverb, could be a preposition. So let's just kind of break it down. We know that Aaron hid is our subject and verb. So is any one word describing our verb, our action in the sentence? Anything telling us how, when, or where she is hiding? Yes. The word below answers the question where she hid. So Aaron hid below. But we also have this phrase at the end. Aaron hid below under the porch. So under the porch in this instance is actually a prepositional phrase. It's giving us extra information in this sentence, and it's its own separate phrase that ends with a noun, begins with that preposition. That porch is going to be the object of the preposition. So just make sure you look out for that stuff, and also notice that below and under could both be used as either an adverb or a prepositional phrase. So you want to make sure that you understand that those adverbs are going to be describing the action of the verb. They're not going to be creating a phrase in that sentence. Now that we are through all that core stuff, we're going to get into the sentence diagramming in this booklet, and we're going to learn how to diagram coordinating conjunctions with adjectives and adverbs. So we are going to jump into this sentence. Dylan spells the Greek and Latin roots quickly and correctly. Notice how the sentences for the sentence diagramming are going to start getting quite long in Grammar 4. So there will be a lot of stuff going on in these sentences, and it's important to just take it step by step. First, just find the most important words, which are going to be the subject and the verb. Those are what make a sentence a sentence. So in this instance, Dylan is our subject, spells is our verb. Now, is anything receiving that action, anything being renamed, like the PNPA? No. Instead, we do have that receiving of the action. We do have a direct object. So these are our three core words, and everything else is going to be just kind of building off of that. So let's look for some describing words and prepositional phrases and all that kind of stuff. First and foremost, we don't have anything that is going to be describing the subject, as it is just a name. But for the direct object, we do have describing words. Greek and Latin are both adjectives, as well as the is an article, which we all know is a special type of adjective. So all of these are going to be describing the direct object. And then we have and, which is our coordinating conjunction for the two adjectives describing the direct object. So you just want to make sure you recognize, all right, that's a conjunction. Next, we have some other words. We have quickly and correctly. Quickly and correctly are both describing how Dylan is spelling the words. So they are adverbs. And then, of course, these adverbs have our coordinating conjunction of and. So we're just going to label that as a conjunction. Now we're going to start making our actual diagram. So we're going to start with our nice long line. That is the base of the sentence. We're going to separate out the subject from the predicate, and then we're going to separate the verb from the direct object. So now what we need to do is just build off of that. So we know we have some adverbs, two in fact, and since these are adverbs that are connected by a coordinating conjunction, we are going to make a little dotted line and connect those lines to each other. Now this will look somewhat familiar because we do this with compound subjects, compound verbs, compound objects of the preposition, so on and so forth. So this is just like that, it's just we don't make a little triangle with it. Instead, we just make those two lines that come off of the verb. Then we have a couple of other adjectives for the direct object. So we're going to make some lines coming off of that, as you can see here. And of course, two of those adjectives also have a coordinating conjunction. So we're going to connect those with the dotted line. Now we have the whole diagram made, so we can start filling it out. We have our subject, we have our verb, and we have our direct object. Dylan spells roots. That's what this sentence is really telling us. But everything else is giving us more information about how he is doing that and what kind of roots those are. So we have our adverbs quickly, correctly, and we have our coordinating conjunction of and sitting there with them so that it is connecting those two. We then have our article, our special adjective, and then we have our other two adjectives that are being coordinated by our conjunction and. And that's going to be how you will diagram all sorts of coordinating conjunctions with either adverbs or with adjectives. If you have any other questions about this or any other grammar booklet, please contact your center director.